7 Myths about underground utility locating. There are many myths about underground utility locating. Some believe buried utilities can be found with a standard metal detector in a few minutes. Others assume they are easy to see and don't bother to call 811. Identifying underground utility lines is a complex and dangerous process. Unless you're trained, you should always call before you dig. As if this entire process wasn't dangerous enough, misinformation, misconceptions, and myths surrounding buried lines contribute to millions of dollars worth of damages and countless fatalities yearly. While tracking down every single myth about underground line locating is impossible, we help dispel the most common ones in this video. Myth: finding buried lines is an exact science. Utility locating has come a long way in recent years, but it is still not an exact science. Several factors can affect the accuracy of the readings. Factors include the type of equipment being used, the operator's experience, and the ground conditions. In addition, some types of utilities are more challenging to locate than others. For example, telecom and fiber optics lines can be tough to detect, as they often have no metallic components. As a result, it is essential to use caution when excavating in any area where underground power lines or other utility services may be present. Myth: all buried lines are easy to locate. As mentioned before, some lines are easier to locate than others. This is because they are typically made of materials that are easier to detect with underground locating equipment. However, in some instances, utilities may be buried beneath layers of rock or other natural features. This can make them more challenging to find and expensive to repair or replace if they become damaged. Myth: calling 811 is only necessary for construction projects. Detecting buried lines is a critical step in any construction project, but it is also required for other projects like landscaping. For example, when installing a new sprinkler system, it is essential to know the location of underground utilities to avoid damaging them when digging. Remember, if you plan to dig, it is vital to have your property surveyed. Contacting Call 811 to conduct a survey will help prevent accidental damage to gas, water, sewer, and power lines. Myth: finding buried lines is a simple process. This is far from a simple process, as it involves several different methods to identify and locate buried cables, pipes, and other objects. The most common method is known as electromagnetic locating, or EML. EML involves the use of a handheld device that emits an electromagnetic field. The field interacts with buried metal pipes, cables, or other objects, causing it to emit a signal that the device can detect. Another standard method is known as ground-penetrating radar, or GPR. GPR involves using radar to detect objects buried beneath the ground surface. GPR can locate metal and non-metal objects, making it a versatile tool for underground utility locating. Myth: public utility companies always mark the location of their lines on blueprints. Utility companies are responsible for marking the location of underground lines on blueprints. Unfortunately, not all utility companies mark the location of their utilities on blueprints. Failure to mark a site can lead to damages to the utilities and injuries to workers. In some cases, the utility companies may be liable for these damages. Myth: you can always trust the markings on the ground. Just because there are markings on the ground does not mean they are accurate. The markings could be old, or they could have been placed there by someone who was not adequately trained. If you are unsure about the accuracy of the markings, contact Call 811 for assistance. While it is possible to identify some utilities yourself, that approach is not ideal. Hiring a professional firm is always best. They will have the experience, training, and equipment necessary to do the job safely and correctly. Myth: markers will always be on top of the ground. Markers are essential tools to alert workers and the general public of underground utilities. Most people think these markers are constantly visible on the ground, but this is not always true. Some utilities may not have markers. The lack of a marker does not mean the utility does not exist. Some utility markers may be buried beneath the soil or behind vegetation. As a result, it is crucial always to assume that there may be unseen hazards below the ground. Underground utility locating is a complex process that professionals should only handle. When planning an excavation project, contacting Call 811 or an experienced utility locating company like Savage Group is essential. At Savage Group, we have the expertise and equipment necessary so that your project can proceed safely and without any interruptions. Contact us today for more information or to schedule a consultation. 7 myths about